Hey everybody, welcome back to the third episode of our All the Mods 8 series here on the channel. So what did I do in between episodes? Well, glad you asked. I did a little bit of stuff. Not a lot, just a little cleaning up. So it looks like quite a bit has changed here, but realistically, the big one that changed was the drawer wall. I was not happy with the way it was set up in here. It felt really cramped and the story and the crafting area and the way that it was kind of set up around here didn't look very even or very nice at all. So I decided to move it to this flat wall over here, and I've got most of the things moved over from the house over there. As you can see here in the bottom, I actually have some dark oak barrels from Sophisticated Storage that have stack upgrades in each of them. And how I had that set up, I'll go in here and check really quick. I'll show you. Is under here I have inventory connectors on all these barrels, and I have an item importer on this main barrel right in the middle. And this is our import barrel. This is if we're coming in and we have a whole inventory full of stuff, all we have to do is come here, dump it off, and it gets sent into its appropriate chest or drawer. The drawer wall has a higher priority, so all the stuff goes into the drawers first and then starts to fill up these barrels along the side. I also added this little garden area in here. Nothing really functional, just something just to add a little bit of color and some natural feel to the area. I also took out some of the wooden floor and kind of made it more of a coarse dirt path, just to kind of make it feel a little more natural, less all of one texture and one type. And this is meant to be kind of an outdoor area anyway, so I thought this was going to be a nice idea. Um, I didn't add any water in here. I actually did try to add the water in here before, and there was some visual glitch going on. When I move my cursor up and down, the water seems to change its transparency almost. So I was getting really annoyed with the constant, as I was walking by, it was constantly shifting like this. So I just decided it wasn't going to be worth it. In this corner, I have some diamond furnaces that I took some of the iron furnaces that we had and I upgraded them to gold and then to diamond furnaces. They're pretty cheap actually. It just requires some gold for this upgrade and then to the diamond ones. It's the same. It's just with even less diamonds. And with my fortune pickaxe and a little bit of mining, that didn't take long to get it all. So they're pretty quick. These furnaces. They run out. I am running out of fuel, but they've gotten the job done so far. I will be looking at upgrading these soon, hopefully, to use power instead of coal, but that's still a little bit down the road still. So for now, this is getting the job done for most of our smelting needs. I also have been using, instead of just smelting down the raw ore we get, I've actually been using this platinum hammer. I've come across a couple of little veins of platinum, and I've been making the hammers out of the platinum that I've gotten. And what these hammers actually do is they'll actually ore double for you. So in this pack, ore doubling is something that you don't actually get access to till quite a bit later on. The fact that we can actually get ore doubling just using these hammers is actually really nice. They do have durability, so I think the platinum hammer will do four stacks of raw ore before it breaks, but it ends up being worth it in the end for the amount of extra ore that we've gotten. I crafted a sink. The sink itself is pretty cheap, and it's just an infinite water source. It's just some terracotta, iron, and a bucket of water, and then I can just come over here, right click on it with a bucket, and get water whenever I need it. While I was out mining, I also come across a mine shaft, and it had a chest in it that I got one of these out of. It's from the artifacts mod, and it's called a cloud in the bottle, and it actually lets the user double jump when it's in your belt slot. It does give you a double jump. It helps me just kind of tootling around the base, getting some stuff built up, and getting on top of some blocks that I would normally pillar up to. So it's just kind of a little quality of life thing that I found. And finally, the last thing that I did in between episodes was I set up this little plant rack here. And this is growing Inferium essence using the Inferium seeds. which we craft with just a normal wheat seed and then just some inferium around it. So I have all of these hopper botany pots have inferium, farmland, and inferium seeds. The inferium farmland is just also a piece of inferium essence with dirt and a hoe. So I put one of those in each of these, which is good enough for now. Ultimately, we're probably going to get way more inferium than we know what to do with a mob farm. But right now, we need quite a bit of inferium to start getting into mystical agriculture, which is what I actually want to do in this episode, is to hop into mystical agriculture and get started in that. Once we upgrade the farmland that we have in here, it will go faster, but as of now, I just have the basic farmland. So in case you're new to mystical agriculture and you haven't heard of the mod, what the mod basically is a seed mod, to put it simply. But what these seeds grow, there's a whole bunch of different seeds, and what they grow is essence. So if we look here, what a seed such as a wood seed will grow is called wood essence, and every material and every item has its own essence that it grows. And then to use this wood essence, all we really have to do is craft it. Sometimes you craft it with other essences, sometimes you craft it just by itself, and you can get a whole variety of different items and resources like logs and such, saplings, just by using this essence in different crafting patterns here. So it's a very easy way to set up, especially when you start auto crafting, large quantities of each resource just by using all this essence you can get from one seed type. So I think the goal that I want to set today is to get some higher tier farmland that we can put into these hopper botany pots so that these inferium seeds can grow a little bit faster. Because the thing about mystical agriculture is you're always going to need more inferium. Inferium is usually the bottleneck in this mod. You're going to run out of inferium. It's going to happen because some of this crafting late game becomes very, very expensive when you start having 4-to-1 crafts all the way down to the inferium. So we need a whole lot of inferium. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start trying to get higher tier essences. And that is done by taking some of the stuff that we have right now, the inferium, and crafting it together with what's called an infusion crystal. We see that there are two types of infusion crystals. There's this one, which has what says 1,000 uses left, which basically will then break the crystal once it's been used enough times. And then there's also the master infusion crystal. This one has no durability. It is completely unbreakable, but it is very, very expensive. It requires supremium essence. So we're going to have to start off with the infusion crystal itself. We're going to grab our infusion crystal, get ourselves some inferium, and let's see how much prudentium we can make using this. There we go. So we have 4 stacks. We have some inferium left, but I'm not going to use too much more. I'm going to try and keep a little bit left over. And it also shows here that we only have 744 uses left because we've made ourselves a decent bit of prudentium. I'm going to see how high we can take this and what tier of farmland we can get. I know I need 20 to fill all of these with the new farmlands, so I'm going to try and get up to the tier that'll let me have 20. The problem with the farmland is once you've made a certain tier of farmland, it doesn't let you upgrade it. So that's actually kind of a bit of a pain in the butt. Actually, knowing that, maybe it was just a good idea to try and go all the way. I think we're going to be a little short on the supremium. We're going to probably, we're going to have 9 pieces of supremium. I think we're going to leave it at the supremium tier though, because that'll let us eventually, once we do have a mob farm, we'll be able to then switch out some of this inferium for higher tier seeds because we already have the supremium farmland. So that's actually not going to be bad. And as we get more of this, we'll keep kind of upgrading these farmlands to supremium as we get it. But I don't think it's a good idea to waste essence at this point in the pack on some lower tier farmlands because all these seeds that are below this will still grow on the higher tier farmland. So inferium is at 1.1 and this is at 1.3 speed. That's not terrible. It's not the greatest speed up in the world, 1.3. So we'll be getting it a little bit faster, but it's not going to be a super noticeable difference. What we will notice it on is once we start putting multiples of these together and we start having multiple hopper botany pots, or however we choose to grow this down the road. Just a quick side tangent here. This wandering trader is selling a very good helmet here for 45 emeralds. So I only have 52 emeralds. I've been getting a couple from trading with some of the villagers over there, but I think that's going to be worth it right now because my helmet right now is not, it's not terrible, but it's not amazing. And so this, with the protection 5 and also the respiration and the aqua affinity, that's very handy. I will definitely take that. Well, it's raining, and it has been raining for a while now, and I was going to wait to record this next part till the rain stopped, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, so we're just going to push forward here. So now that we have the Inferium, and we have ways to get higher tier farmland, how do we actually get the resources that we want? Well, we have to make these seeds for all the different resource types that we are wanting, which means we have to do something called infusion crafting. Now, to start infusion crafting, we need one of these, which is an infusion altar, and we need 8 of the pedestals to go around the altar to craft the seeds, which just requires, they're pretty cheap, they just require some normal stone and some golden wool, so they're pretty easy to make. So if we just come in here, we should have all the materials that we need to craft all of these up. Here we go, and perfect. And how this actually sets up is actually really handy because it shows you how the whole thing is meant to go. You put down the altar and it'll show you where all the pedestals have to be placed in order for the whole setup to work. So all we have to do is put all of our pedestals down. And there we go. We are basically all set up for crafting. The only thing we have to do now is, in order to actually start the crafting process, once we've put the stuff on each of the pedestals, is we have to give the altar itself a redstone signal. So all we have to do is come over here, make ourselves some sort of button. I'm going to make just a stone button for now. Plop that down beside it like this. And now whenever we're ready, we can just hit that button and we should be able to make our seeds no problem. And I slept and the rain stopped. Woohoo, finally. So now we can get ourselves going here. So we're going to put 4 logs down. It doesn't actually matter where these are placed on the pedestals. It just has to be on one of the pedestals. And 4 pieces of Inferium, a base in the middle, and we press the button and it should start crafting. Now, normally you would see a bunch of particles here because, there we go, and we have ourselves a wood seed. I'll actually turn on my particles. I have them turned down just to help with some performance. So to craft the stone seed, we need the exact same thing, just instead of logs, we use some normal stone. So we just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and then the seed base, and then the particles should show this time. There we go. It's all coming together. And we get ourselves the stone seed. Nature seeds are just it requires this nature agglomeratio, which is just a pumpkin, potato, sugarcane, and cactus. Now, I don't know. Do I have I have seeds. I don't have any cactus. Okay, I've determined I'm going on an adventure to find a desert. Finally, cactus. I don't know what beach this is. It's a windswept desert. This is a kind of cool biome. But I'm just gonna grab as much of this cactus as I can. We are going to bring this back to base. Yeah, I've come pretty far. Not terribly far, but far enough for 2 pieces of green dye. So moving forward now that we've kind of gotten a bit of an introduction to mystical agriculture, seed crafting, and such, I'm going to pin all the seeds that I'm interested in getting right now because I want to get all of the ingot types as passive resource generation, as well as stuff like gold, redstone, coal, and then also, diamonds. Some of it's going to require quite a bit more essence than we currently have. It is going to be building up slowly over here, and there are faster ways we can get essence, so I might be looking at getting a mob farm up and running, hopefully maybe in the next episode. But I think for now, we should have enough resources to get a couple of the basic seeds done. Also, in between clips here, I just added a third row of Inferium production here. I just used a little bit more of our essence, and I just thought I'd try and speed this up a little bit more because we're gonna need a lot of this in the coming little bit. So, I have this right now all piped in to one barrel just for ease of access. It's pretty straightforward. All I have is just a bunch of these pipes from the pipes mod, which are pretty cheap, and they just are all extracting out of the barrels, and it's all coming down and ending up in one barrel at the bottom here. So this has actually been doing pretty well for us in terms of rates. It's kind of keeping up in terms of what we're going to be needing. There's also probably way better ways to grow this stuff other than in the botany pots, but right now this is just a nice compact way of growing stuff, and it does grow it pretty quick. I know there are ways that we can speed up the overall growth by adding a bunch of stuff like there's like a lily pad of fertility, I think, right here. Yeah, so this requires some of these reliquary drops. And these can be obtained through like if we have a mob farm set up with a mob masher with looting applied, which I think we might try and get to this episode still. It shouldn't be too difficult. But yeah, so if we have that set up, then we should be able to get a lot of these resources pretty quick and easy. I've added a couple of ones that we already had here, the like the wood seeds, stone, dirt, dye. I'm just trying to get a little bit of raw resources together so we have them when we need them. I think before we end up crafting up a bunch of seeds, I'm gonna actually go ahead and make the upgraded crystal. Just need one of these, and we should have there we go, our Master Infusion Crystal. Alright, I finished crafting all the seeds up that I have enough resources to make. I ended up getting a couple more gold seeds made up because I figured we were going to need them, and it would be worth to have in the long run. So we might end up getting more of these overall, but right now this is what we have, and I'd like to get these set up right now. So what I think I'm going to do is make this entire corner here this design of barrels and hopper botany pots. That way I can even squeeze in one more layer of these on top of these. And then where this deep slate brick row starts is where I'm going to actually put a floor in, and I'm going to put a second layer in, which is where I'm going to actually keep our infusion pedestals set up. And I'm just going to get an elevator in here to go up and down. Keep an elevator here. And then I'm going to probably start this floor one above this first deep slate layer. So I think we're going to start this like right around this area. So now we have this just kind of set up here. We should just be able to come up here, take the elevator up, and then we can go ahead and complete this floor. One other really neat thing that I noticed that is helpful for putting some hidden lighting around your base is these framed blocks from the framed cube here. If you place this down, you can kind of put whatever block you want to facade that with, and then if you click it with a piece of glowstone dust, it actually lights up like a piece of if it was normally a glowstone block. So you can essentially have any block you want in the game be a light source. So far I've gotten 4 iron and 4 gold. Those are my two widely used in a lot of recipes. So I have extra of those being planted, but for everything else, I basically have it in pairs of 2. The only ones that I don't have 2 of, obviously, are the diamond seeds, which I only have the 1 of still, which I hope to get more of soon. But I also went ahead and made an obsidian seed. The obsidian seed, I think, is not, I don't necessarily need it in like bulk quantities, so I'm hoping that 1 seed will be enough for now, and we just get passive amounts of it. So yeah, the only reason that I'm stopping and don't have many, I still have some seeds left here that I've made, but I'm pretty much out of supremium farmland. The system here is fine. It's been doing well so far, but eventually we're gonna outpace this, I think. So we're gonna probably need to have another alternative to getting some more supreme or some more inferium a little faster than this. And I think that's going to come in the form of the lily pads, like I was talking about, the lily pad of fertilities. I'm going to bookmark them. So, yeah, I think the next goal that we're going to have for this episode is I'm going to clear out a space, probably under the base somewhere, that I'm going to end up having areas for some mob farms. The one that I'm thinking of right now, at least in the meanwhile, is the in the mob grinding utilities. There is this various chicken feed, and if you craft this chicken feed and feed it to a chicken, it will then produce an egg, which you can turn into certain types of dirt. So if you give this type of feed to a chicken, you'll get a rotten egg, which creates a 5x5 area of dreadful dirt, which will passively spawn hostile mobs, which is what we do need for the fertility, the lily pad, is creeper drops, slime drops, and skeleton drops. So I'm hoping over time, if we just have this set up and running, that it'll produce those things for us. The only thing that I need then basically is all of the mob grinding utility stuff. So if I come here and bookmark it, we're going to need one of these mob mashers, which is what we actually use to kill the mobs automatically. And these are kind of expensive in terms of iron and a few diamonds, but they're pretty straightforward other than that, just a ton of iron. To move the mobs around, we're also going to want vector plates from dark utilities. It looks like we could probably go right to the fast tier of the vector plate. I don't really think anything more than that is really necessary, simply because we only have a little 5x5 spot. So even this would probably be enough, the basic vector plate. But I think we'll probably try and get a few of these. We should only need 4 sets of these because it's a 5x5, and then one of those areas will be a mob masher. So we need that, and then also we're going to need the upgrades for the masher. So the mob masher itself can have a variety of different upgrades, like looting, sharpness, beheading, which is a good one for if we ever get like a wither skeleton spawner. So I'm just gonna bookmark all of these. The sharpness, smite. I think smite and sharpness are, I don't know if they're exclusive, like you can only have one or the other, but usually if you have a maxed out sharpness, it's pretty much all you're ever going to need. So I usually just run with sharpness instead. Yeah, I think the beheading might not be necessary for this type of mob farm, just because we're not really looking for the skulls of any of the drop or any of the mobs. So this may or may not happen. It's a little expensive too, with a lot of iron and gold. So we might just hold off on that one for now. But I definitely want the looting and the sharpness. Well, I did a little bit of digging out underneath the base here. And I started digging out some small areas, just some 5x5, because that's the size of the plots. I added a couple extras as well. I think this one here, the one that's directly across from where we're gonna push back this tunnel this way. I think this is gonna be the mob farm with the dreadful dirt in the middle. I have these two on the side for when we get one of the apotheosis mob spawners. And what we can do is eventually we can get the spawn egg of whatever we want to farm, and we can put the spawn egg in the spawner and then speed the spawner up so we can have a really good mob farm for one type of mob only. So I put 2 on each side in case we wanted to, like, for example, have wither skeletons being farmed here and then maybe like blazes over here. That way we can kind of get those drops pumping in as fast as we can. Now, this wandering trader is selling a really good axe. I think we are going to take that. Thank you very much, sir. Now that we have a space, which is going to be this one here, for the dreadful dirt, I'm just going to need a couple of little things. We're going to need to make these vector plates. These things are pretty easy. The basics are just some deep slate, and then sugar and slime balls. which I've obtained in various different ways. And then we can also just upgrade these right to the medium tier. There we go. The Mob Masher requires a lot of iron swords. And it looks like we're not going to be able to shift click these. So we're actually going to need a ton more than we think we are, because it also, the sharpness upgrade also requires iron swords. So we're going to need probably multiple inventories of these iron swords. So I'm just going to take maybe this many, and we'll dump them into the system. There we go. All right, let's see if we can make ourselves the Mob Masher now. Okay, there we go. Mob Masher can be upgraded, and it also does require a redstone signal to turn on and off. So we are actually going to end up having it so that all of these individual mob spawners, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, and then probably 4, 5. I'm going to have 2 more on each side here. And then this back wall is going to end up being a control panel and a storage system for all the drops that we're going to get from these mob farms. That way we can hook up the drawer system to our network and eventually into our refined storage system down the road when we do have that. And we can then just use all the drops from these farms whenever we want to. And I'm also going to want to be able to turn these off, because if we have all these mob farms running at the same time, that could be a little bit taxing on the system. It could get a little laggy around the base, and I don't really want that. So I only really want these turned on if I need the drops themselves. So I think the way we're going to do that eventually is through the create mod. Has some redstone links, and these can be kind of tuned to whatever frequency signal we want to put out, so we can essentially turn on and off the mob farms individually using those redstone links. So that'll hopefully make it so that we have a nice clean interface on this side that we can turn on and off whenever we need to. So this is how we're basically going to have it set up in the meantime. I have it pretty much completed. I just need to do a little bit of touching up here. But other than that, it's pretty much done. So what's going to happen is, because this needs to basically, I'll show you how I did the redstone underneath here. Just these vector plates are annoying. Basically how I have it set it up here. Is how this is working is I have this light at the side here, which is sending a redstone signal underneath, and then there's a torch that once this is switched off, it deactivates the torch, which means that the Mob Masher will be running. The observer then detects the redstone torch changing, and that will then trigger the dispenser to flicker the water on and off. So basically how I'm going to have it set up is, when I have this thing on, the dispenser will have the water sucked up, but once this thing should be turned off, as it is now, the water will be running over top of this, so it will stop the mobs from spawning altogether. So that's how we're going to be able to turn on and off this farm remotely. Eventually, I will end up hooking this up probably to the wireless redstone links, just because that'll make it easier to control all from one area. But for now, until we have that all sorted and we have those materials, this is going to be just fine for now. So I'm going to put this stuff back. Now, all we're missing now is effectively just the chicken. So what we have to do is we have to put the dreadful dirt down right here, and that'll make this entire 5x5 dreadful dirt, and then we will basically have ourselves a working mob farm. My only hesitation right now is I'm not exactly sure how I wanted to gather the resource drops. And I think the easiest way to do this is probably using item collector. So there's these advanced item collectors. Now these can pick up items from 7 blocks away and then filter them out as well. So you only pick up ones you want to as well, which is handy. They're a little expensive because you need to have an Ender Pearl and an Eye of Ender, which is kind of difficult for us right now. We have a couple, I think, but I believe there is also from mob grinding utilities a vacuum hopper. Now that I see this, it's the exact same, it's almost the exact same price as this one. It's a little cheaper on the obsidian, so I think we're going to go with the mob grinding utilities one. I just because I'm accustomed to using this one, and it also can do in a 7x7 area. And it also will vacuum up XP orbs, so we can have some XP storage at some point if we want to. To make this thing, we just need all the resources here, which we have all of, so we're just going to make one for now. And I think as of now, we are going to simply send this into, with some item pipes, we are going to then just send this into a chest for now. The only thing we're not going to store probably is some stuff like the unstackable items like armor, bows, and such like that, because those can really clog up your system fast. So how I think I'm going to do that is I'm going to filter the input that we have with this barrel. Now I think the barrel, and the last thing I'm going to get here before we go down and start making this is the teleportate or the travel staff. And this basically just lets you do short teleportations in the direction you're facing when you hold shift and right click. So this will make it easier for us to basically get ourselves in here. We'll set the farm itself up, and then once it's time to go, we can at least teleport ourselves out and get ourselves out of danger when this thing is running and ready. So I believe this dreadful dirt will only spawn mobs if it has a light level 5 and above stops hostile mob spawns. Effectively, this should do the same thing, because right now we are in the off position. So there we go. Now, if these corner blocks are 5 or less, then we are, or 5 or more, then we should be fine. Yeah, it looks like it's at 7 there. I believe there is also from mob grinding utilities a vacuum hopper. To make this thing, we just need all the resources here, which we have all of, so we're just going to make one for now. And I think as of now, we are going to simply send this into, with some item pipes, we are going to then just send this into a chest for now. The only thing we're not going to store probably is some stuff like the unstackable items like armor, bows, and such like that, because those can really clog up your system fast. So how I think I'm going to do that is I'm going to filter the input that we have with this barrel. The sophisticated barrels have the advanced filter upgrade, which I believe it'll allow certain things to be piped in and out of the storage, or only certain things will be allowed to piped into the barrel itself. The advanced filter will allow us to, oh, that's actually really handy. It allows us to block certain items, and it will also allow us to ignore the durability and NBT data, which basically will then say we'll be able to just put in for example, a bow, just like that. So any bow of any type, so any enchantment, any durability, that will get voided automatically. Okay, so now it's time to get the actual egg itself for the mob farm. So in order to do that, we need to craft the mob grinding utilities cursed chicken feed, and I believe we have everything else except for the experience bucket. Thankfully, the mod also includes what's called the XP drain. So if you don't have a way to get experience, liquid experience before, what you can do is you can make one of these, and they're a little expensive up front. They do require 2 Eyes of Ender. Also a singularity tank, which is just pretty easy to make as well. But once you've made one of these, all you have to do, assuming you have some experience already, I have 22 levels, you put it down, you stand on top of it, and this should fill up the buckets pretty easy. So we have 2, 3, 4. There we go. So now we have pretty much everything we need to get started. And there it is, the cursed chicken feed. So now what we have to do is find ourselves a chicken. There we go. Okay, so now all we have to do is right-click on the chicken to feed him this. And we should be good. Well, that was a little curse. Don't think about that too much, what just happened there. That should be everything then. So what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to put this rotten egg down. And this shouldn't actually be spawning any mobs because the light level is above 5 everywhere. So if I put this down, we should be fine. There should be no hostile mobs spawning, which is true. I'm going to put this last plate down. Let's get out of here. Okay, so let's try this out. So if I take this and flip this lever, we should have mobs spawning. That's a good sign. And so this will spawn mobs at a decent rate. I don't know how quick it is, but it will probably be enough for what we need for a while. And we should see most of these drops coming in here, which is the case. And you can actually just tell the difference when because we have the looting 10 upgrade in there. Like the amount of drops we're getting is actually pretty insane. So yeah, we're probably going to get a whole bunch of junk. I'm probably going to have to sort through some of it that we don't want to keep. But again, we're really just after a lot of these rarer drops from these different mobs. So I'll keep my eye out for those. One thing I am going to do is while I'm in this area, I want to mute most of the mob sounds we're going to get in here. So we're going to say mob farm. So basically what you can do with this muffler mod is you can just you can anchor yourself and set a radius around this area of what you want to mute. So we basically want to mute anything that can hurt. So we kind of want to mute all of these. I'll go through this and do this and get this done. That way we don't have to listen to this while we're in the area. There we go. That's nice and quiet now. So this is a nice quiet farm after I've put this muffler in. The only thing that I've noticed about this, we're getting a whole lot of great loot, a lot of stuff that we can use. A little bit of Inferium, not a ton. I was hoping for a little bit more, but again, we're gonna hopefully grow some of that a little faster. The only problem that I see is that we are not getting any slimes to spawn. So I'm not sure why that's the case, but I'm gonna keep an eye on this. It might just be a rarer spawn. It might just not have spawned yet. We are getting the drops we need to make the lily pads. So currently we have enough for the 2 here. We also need some green dye, which we have with the dye essence. Or the dye, yeah, from the dye essence. And so we're just missing the slime drops. Oh, I hear it. So I literally just stopped recording and I heard the slimes come in. So there we go. So they are a little bit rarer of a drop, the slime spawns. But when they do drop, because they split into a bunch of different slime, they do drop quite a bit. So yeah, we have 4 slime pearl, 2 of the skeletons ribs, which we'll get more of hopefully later, and then 4 of these guys. So with all of this, I just got a 3rd one there. With all of this, we should be able to start making ourselves some of the lily pads of fertility. So green dye. Do I have any extra green dye? I do. Let's put this here, here, and here. So that should be able to be enough for 1. We make some lily pads. There we go. Okay, so to test this out, I grabbed the diamond seeds here. from our setup just to see how fast this works with just the one lily pad of fertility. Now, I'm pretty sure these stack, so I'm not exactly sure what the range of them is, but I think they do stack. So if I put one down, well, there we go, 14%. So it is actually going quite a bit faster this way. 28. Yeah, that's quite quick. But yeah, I think this actually might end up being the way we go and let the mob farm run for a little bit and get enough materials to craft a whole bunch more of these lily pad of fertilities. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to call the episode there. We've done quite a bit this episode. I'm going to AFK and do a little bit of work around getting some more of the materials to get some more of the lily pads, and hopefully in the next episode we have enough where we can do a proper Inferium setup with these new lily pads that we've made. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. If you have any comments or feedback, I'd appreciate it if you left it in the comments. Thanks again for watching everyone, and have a good one. Bye.